has proclaimed one and only one day per calendar year in recognition of the value of prayer. Therefore, in recognition of Governor Rendell's wise implication that the value and power of reason is at least 364 times greater than the value of prayer, and by the authority invested in Steve by the Board of Directors of Pennsylvania Nonbelievers, Steve hereby proclaims the governor an honorary member of Pennsylvania Nonbelievers Incorporated with all of the privileges, benefits, and political liabilities thereof. And it has our seal, Pennsylvania Nonbelievers Incorporated, www.panonbelievers.org, and our motto, embrace reality.
And we have copies of our proclamation to be handed out to anyone in the press or anyone else who's interested in them. In addition to the proclamation, we have prepared a little gift bag for the governor as a token of our appreciation for his recognition of reason. In this gift bag, he will be receiving a genuine PA Nonbelievers t-shirt. He's getting extra large because the only extra large was taken by me. Also in the gift bag will be our Embrace Reality slogan on a magnet to be placed where the governor is sure to see it many, many times on his refrigerator. And we're going to prepare a name tag. We all wear name tags to our meetings with our logo on it. We were going to prepare one just with, in case the governor wanted to come kind of incognito with his first name on it, Ed. But then we realized that ED stands for a physical dysfunction that many males are uncomfortable advertising. So we decided to put his entire name on his name tag. It will say Ed Rendell. So the governor can come into our meetings and not be afraid that he's giving something away. And that we will present that to the governor. Are there any questions? Okay, at this, go ahead. We know that they have asked the governor of Alabama. Yes. As far as I know, Colorado. Do we know of any other ones? The president has been asked, and he's turned it down. President Bush has turned down, from what I'm told, a request for a day of reason. Anyone else? Any other questions? Okay, at this point we were going to have Kathleen Voss. Is Kathleen here yet? Okay. Is she coming up the steps? Okay. We will skip over Kathleen for a few minutes and let Pete Hance, who is founder of the Secular Humanists and Atheists of the Lehigh Valley and also Eastern Pennsylvania Regional Director of American Atheists, and Pete is going to speak on Has Prayer Worked?
Thank you, Steve. Those of us who do not believe have no issue with any individual's right to pray. They just shouldn't receive official promotion from the government for it. Just why is it that many politicians feel it is necessary to promote the agenda of the most far right of religious conservatives anyway? Former Governor Jesse Ventura was brave enough to decline such a day of prayer. So were other leaders, most recently the Belvedere, New Jersey Town Council. Exactly when does prayer work anyway? Pat Robertson, king of prayer making, prayed Hurricane Isabel with Miss Virginia Beach. It didn't. All throughout Pennsylvania, religious conservatives were hard at work in churches praying for Pat Toomey to beat Arlen Specter. It didn't work. The Islamic terrorists of 9/11 said many prayers. Maybe if they'd been taught reason instead of superstition, the world would be a safer and happier place. But at its worst, prayer is used to the great detriment of children. Today, in Christian Scientist sanitariums, known as religious non-medical healthcare institutions, which is the code name they give it in the Medicare Act, prayer is the only medicine. Children with untreated cancers and other diseases die horrible and painful deaths, no painkillers allowed, all with the blessing of Uncle Sam and our tax dollars. Some examples. Shawntae, who died in California of a type of meningitis preventable with immunizations. She had not received any childhood vaccinations. However, the family dog was fully immunized. In the family's defense, though, there were laws for immunization of pets, but religious exclusion for the immunization of children. We all know pets are more important than children, don't we? Ashley King died at age 12 from untreated bone cancer. She was in a Christian Scientist sanitarium. There she screamed in pain. Remember, they aren't allowed any painkillers, only prayer. The Christian Scientist nurses, it was reported, told her that her pain wasn't real and that she was disturbing the other residents. Our tax dollars contribute to this. Evan Tryon was a 7-year-old boy from Norwalk, Massachusetts. His parents were Christian Scientists. He died from untreated diabetes just last November. Our tax dollars contribute to this. But the promoters of a day of prayer would have you believe that prayer actually works, yet no one has ever produced any scientifically peer-reviewed evidence for it. The Christian Scientist Church, ahem, doesn't release their data to the public, they say. Although I did get a tour of their fabulous $70 million church in Boston, biggest, most luxurious church I've ever been in. When an adult rejects medical care for a treatable condition, that is one thing. But children are not exactly empowered to say, no, I don't want prayer, Mommy, I want medicine. Now, here in Pennsylvania, Senate Bill 452, an act providing for the prevention and control of communicable diseases such as tuberculosis, is being modified to say that approved treatment shall include treatment by an accredited practitioner of a well-recognized church or religious denomination which relies on prayer or spiritual means alone for healing. They added this. So why are these, and anyway, who are these well-recognized church or religious denominations anyway? I'd like to know. There is simply no scientific evidence that prayer is medically effective in the treatment of tuberculosis or any other affliction for that matter. Yet 5 of our state senators think we need this clause. One of them was honored here today by the Day of Prayer group. So, when prayer is used to the detriment of children, that's child abuse. And when it's funded by our government, that's taxpayer abuse. It's time for our government to get out of the religious business and get into the business of promoting science, academics, real medicine, and reason. Thank you. Who's next?
Thank you, Pete. Next up is going to be Kathleen Voss. She's a bilingual television weathercaster and a member of our group, and she's going to speak on reason, weather, and women. Thanks, Kathleen.
Thank you. Got to make this for a short person. When I began to study meteorology, I couldn't help but imagine a time of early sky gazers experiencing a sudden revelation, a lifting of a veil that exposed, ironically, what was there all along in the fluid and colorful skies. I imagined some critical moment when ancient students who looked skyward no longer saw signs from God, but instead saw signs of a different sort. Signs written in the language of clouds, a language that would eventually be codified and put to use. At this exquisite moment, the clouds were no longer the whim of an elusive God, but the decipherable code of a changing atmosphere. Here, my imagined sky watchers may have forgotten why they originally looked heavenward and what they hoped to find there, as the language of meteorology, a child of reason, illuminated a wiser path. From the time of Aristotle's Meteorologica, reason has cultivated a new regard for the sky, not as a playground for a capricious deity, but as a page upon which important messages were being written. These messages would help anticipate disasters, save lives, and facilitate expert preparation for bad hair days. I name meteorology as one of Reason's younger children, but Reason has parented a large and able brood, including medicine, technology, and feminism. To Reason and science, we owe our thanks for the birth control pill, which has freed women from the tyranny of our own bodies. The tyranny once attributed either to a brutish male god or to a fickle and domineering mother goddess. Now, thanks to Reason, we women choose our own paths. We can choose to be homemakers, raise families, heal the sick, or play basketball. I choose to do what gives me joy, to explain the position of the jet stream and approaching cold fronts and help people plan their day. And when I go to bed at night, I do not thank God for helping me choose this joy. I thank my parents, grandparents, and intellectual forebears who planted Reason's seeds and watered her under a brilliant sun. Reason has given us cures, solutions, and comforts, but also has allowed humanity and compassion to flourish. Reason has taught us that we help our brethren, not with litanies, closed eyes, and folded hands, but with actions, open eyes, and outstretched arms. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen. Up next is Ron Rouser, our Capital Area Co-Director, who's going to be speaking The Bright Light of Reason by Richard Slade. He's standing in for Richard today. So, Ron, thanks a lot.
Thank you. This was written by Richard specifically for this day. On this day, when we gather to celebrate the most amazing attribute of humankind, the ability to look into the future and predict the logical consequences of our actions, it is fitting that we look into the past and remember two significant anniversaries. It was 50 years ago that Senator Joseph McCarthy and his sinister allies threatened the most cherished principles of this nation by attacking our brightest minds of the day and attempting to stifle the voice of reason in this great land. Through lies, misrepresentation, and deceit, he whipped up irrational fear under the banner of patriotism, calling upon the sham authority of ancient mythology. He assaulted the very freedom that he claimed to protect and imposed on the country a repressive regime reminiscent of that of Nazi Germany, which, only years before, we had struggled to defeat. Joe McCarthy preyed upon the naivete of the people and swayed them with emotional rhetoric, remarkably similar to the tactics of the totalitarian regimes that he railed against. The power and politics of ignorance and fear are the seeds of their own destruction, for humanity will inevitably seek knowledge, and reason will prevail. It is sweet irony that, a half-century ago, during the same time that Joe McCarthy was assailing freedom, an institution set in place by the enlightened minds of the founders of our great nation struck a momentous blow in defense of freedom. The Supreme Court of the United States declared that separate but equal was inherently unequal, and set the stage for the movement that would bring the benefits of liberty to a great many more people across the land. The fuel of prejudice and discrimination is ignorance and fear. Those dark vices are extant in the land once more, and the struggle continues. Forces who would exploit that ignorance and fear have ensconced themselves in the seats of power and again seek to deprive the people of their precious freedom in the name of patriotism. It is the valiant voice of reason which provides the knowledge to dispel that ignorance and fear. It is the brilliant light of our amazing faculty of reason which has illuminated our past. May the bright light of knowledge and reason give us the hope of a still brighter future. Thank you.
Come back again. Next up is going to be Carl Huber, another